Right, hello again. Let's just start the second part of today's session and let's have a look at the main indices. Okay, Nasdaq is 0.32 up. Time, yeah. We'll check Nasdaq soon. Bigger picture, but S&P 500. Oh, Bitcoin. Gold is up. All right. Let's have a look. So we went positive today. We were actually positive. We were, I think, 0.5%, I guess. Nice 1.5%. Let's have a look at the main movers. So Senior Surgical. What I guess is happening right now is that many of the stocks that were moving during this momentum kind of lower cap stocks movement, and despite the fact that some of them really have potential compared to some others, all of them go down together. So you can see BNGO, you can see, for example, Senior Surgical, where's NNDM. So generally you can see these kind of things move down or up together. Interesting. Let's have a look at NNDM. It was let's have a look at 15 minutes. Okay, so it actually pushed. Actually, it pushed up like this. Okay. And it didn't hit our price target either. Yeah, as usual. Not price target, buying target, basically. Let's have a look at Nasdaq. Is it really going down, at least for a short time? 30-minute is upside. 4-hour, if you look, I don't know. This is not really clear what's happening. You have to wait a bit more. This is showing early signs of going up again. I wouldn't be sure, really. Yeah, I'm not really sure if it's a good time to sell Nasdaq at this point. At least in my opinion. People can have different opinions. Any news here? Dominic back buy shares during tough when Bears says a stretch. Okay. nothing really interesting, at least to my eyes. Let's have a look at some of the sectors. Dow Jones, Nasdaq up, S&P up. Roku is actually 8% up today.
Welcome back to Yahoo Finance Live. Cryptocurrencies market value topping $2 trillion after Ethereum hits a new high. Miles Udland is watching all the moves for us today. Miles, what do you have your eye on?
Yeah, let's take a look at a couple of coins here. You mentioned Ethereum trading at a record. Of course, Ethereum had hit a record right around 2,200 or so back in late March, getting back to those levels during the early morning hours today. Also want to take a look at Ripple, or XRP. We don't need to have the debate on what you are supposed to call the coin that references the Ripple network. Is it Ripple? Is it XRP? Zach Guzman will tell us after the break. We were back above $1 on Ripple earlier today, the first time we've been there since 2017. Of course, Ripple, really for me, one of these standout, kind of bubble mini coins. If we go back in time to what was happening, again, in that 2017, early 18 period, I will never forget standing in the old Yahoo studio and talking to several members of the crew at the time who were trading Ripple actively and then being very excited about Ripple getting to the 90-cent level. But again, that was nearly 4 years ago. Now, of course, Bitcoin trading in the high 50,000s. But as you mentioned, Akiko, story this morning, the overall market cap of the coin space getting above $2 trillion for the first time. We always like nice, big, round numbers here on Yahoo Finance.
Miles, you come on the show, we bring you on, you mock my passion for crypto, but it is interesting now because
that's your interpretation.
That's
your problem to work out on your time, Zach.
I'll work through it. I'm talking to a therapist about it. When we talk about the interesting thing to come from all this, though, is going to be the Coinbase direct listing, because now people are going to be able to play the picks and shovels, right? Not necessarily coins themselves, but the exchange. What are you going to be looking for as we approach that? Because if you're thinking about enthusiasm right now in the crypto space, not just me, but pretty high, what that might do for their debut.
Yeah, I think, look, I love the move to come out with your quarterly results before the stock actually starts listing. How often are we talking during an IPO about how many weeks or months it will be before we actually, get a cleaner look at a company's financials? But the thing that really stood out to me, Zach, in Coinbase's S1 was the way that institutional demand has really bolstered the platform over the last couple of years. And to report what I think we both expect will be just an absolutely mind-blowing first quarter for them. If you look at how the market was acting in the early parts of 2021, I think it's going to be really exciting for investors to get that updated look at the business. Obviously, we can do the read-through here. You wouldn't come out with this quarterly report ahead of the direct listing unless you were excited about what you were going to say. But again, I don't think there were really any concerns about the state of Coinbase's business if you looked at those trends. And again, I know that you and I both went through that S1, and they had a number of charts in there. And the one that really stood out is the way that institutional volume on the platform has grown at a faster clip than retail volume. And I think that kind of tells the more durably exciting story, at least kind of how I see it for Coinbase as they begin their life as a public company.
Yeah, we were in mutual agreement on that one. It was an exciting piece of that S1. Also, the fact that altcoins, as we're discussing here, we opened with Ether, a lot of those altcoins catching a lot of attention as well, not just Bitcoin anymore. But Miles Udland, appreciate you coming on here to chat all that for us. We're going to take another quick break here on the show, but when we return, digging into the 10 years that it took for the Supreme Court to finally give a ruling that lets Google off the hook in their battle with Oracle. We'll break that down on the other side. Stay with us.
Yeah. That was another interesting thing that Google actually used 12,000 lines of Oracle code for their for Android basically, but somehow it was given a pass in the Supreme Court. Interesting, really. Let's have a look at the general market. The ARK ETFs are actually up 2.5, 2.3, 2.3, 0.8. Yeah. Amazon went back up. It was slightly red, now it's green. Square at 237 right now. Also, these Microsoft and Facebook are getting something back. Google went plus again. AMD. CrowdStrike. Why I feel like I'm not enough invested in CrowdStrike. Fantastic company. Fantastic company. This will be one of those plays that everyone would love to have, because there will be days and days that these will just move up, and there will be runners. This guy's more than Tesla. Still fighting 691. Cloudflare, Enphase plus 7%. Pins 83, 84. This thing was 60 something. Etsy, again, it easily goes above 200. Very robust performance, really, even during the recent downtrends. What else do we have? Semiconductor ETFs, DraftKings, SunW, Vestas, Orsted, Tattooed Chef. Below 20, this is a good buy. If it goes below 19, I will buy again, but I prefer to keep some money available for myself, especially when China market opens. That's the part that I want to actually have some money. Lemonade actually went up today, same as Virgin Galactic, Fuel Cell Plug. Let's have a look at this guy here. So something around 2. Here, let's have a look. Let's go 4 hour. This is better. One, two. 310 is actually another level. Maybe actually it's not a bad idea if someone wants to get into this play. If you're not already in this one, and if you are interested, this can be around this area where you can actually build your first positions. It already can be basically bouncing from the 200. This is a SMA line, simple moving average. Yeah, let's have a look. First, let's see how much do we have spread. 179, 190.
So, Jeff, how have you positioned yourself in the expectation or anticipation of that accelerated growth? What are particular sectors you're liking right now?
So when growth becomes ubiquitous, investors are less willing to pay for companies that are growing on their own. In other words, during last year in which there was no economic growth, investors bid up companies that had the ability to grow innately. And now that you have a global economy expanding, what investors tend to do historically is to favor value stocks. They can get growth now because the overall economy is lifting all boats. So why pay a high multiple for that? So we started repositioning client assets even starting in the summer of last year and continuing throughout Q1 of this year, selling US large cap and buying US small cap, emerging markets, and even international investments. I think it is highly probable that the US S&P 500 is among at the caboose of returns in 2021. Certainly this year we have small caps outperforming large, just as they've done from the crescendo low of March 23rd. EM is holding its own. International, have to see on the dollar. But I think the days of the S&P 500 sort of trumping all others is over. And diversification, although it hasn't worked right in the past 3 or 4 years, I think that is what investors must be beginning to do in their portfolio, to rotate to those styles, asset classes, even sectors which have underperformed, perhaps even financials, energy, those value sectors. You should make sure that you have exposure. Don't forsake growth in technology and healthcare and all those high growth names, the wave of the future. But don't expect them to do what they did last year for sure.
I mean, how much of that stems from, I mean, you're talking about companies who have been able to grow even in the pandemic, but as we come out of that, I wonder about valuations on some of these names that are now poised to see a nice bounce back. Maybe you look at the airlines today, once again rising. You got Southwest, now at a new all-time high. I mean, we've been talking about that name and the airlines in general about expectations already being built in. So there is maybe that counterpoint to the value side of the equation. But talk to me about valuations there and what you like.
Yeah, there's certainly, I can't discuss individual names, but we can certainly get into sectors and some industry groups. You have to be cognizant that the market is a discounting mechanism and make sure that what you're buying is not a value stock in a growth wrapper. At times of transition, value becomes growth and growth becomes value. And so you have to be cognizant that sometimes if everyone's playing the value trade, it can get pushed to levels which are unsustainable. But certainly to me, the real danger continues to be on that growth side of the equation, where these companies and their multiples, and especially in the backdrop of the potential for higher inflation and higher interest rates, you may continue to see downward pressure, especially on those growth multiples. Value, yes, it's not a free ride. It's not a secret that the global economy is beginning to open up. That vaccines have the potential to be a light switch to turn our economy from off to on. And whenever the economy has been surprisingly strong historically, value has outperformed growth. But the market is well aware of that. Please be cognizant of those things as you weed through individual names. But understand that that's what the market will define as beauty going forward typically. So you'll at least have that wind at your sails. Just be careful of the really high PE multiples and some of those growth names that have been such strong performers. The market may continue, if history is a guide, to sort of pick on those names from a multiple perspective.
Yeah, a worthwhile warning, especially given what we saw play out just a few weeks ago and the jitters around some of those growth names. Jeff Mortimer, BNY Mellon Wealth Management Director of Investment Strategy. Appreciate you coming on here to chat with us today. Of course, we talk so much about this battle between growth and value. Let's not forget that there is often always a battle between some of these growth names itself, and that was the result of an interesting battle that's been playing out between Google and Oracle. The Supreme Court yesterday coming out and finally letting Google off the hook, ruling that it did not violate in that long copyright dispute with Oracle over some code. And for more on that, I want to bring on Yahoo Finance's techspert here, Dan Howley, joins us for more on the shakeout of that ruling. And Dan, I mean, this is a battle that went on for years. So it's pretty important when you think about how much both these companies really put their time invested in battling this. But I mean, what are the broader, I guess, ramifications of seeing Google left off the hook?
Yeah, this was about a decade-long battle between the two companies, Oracle and Google. Obviously, Google would have been on the hook for nearly $9 billion in this lawsuit. They actually lost at the appellate level twice to LG, but finally came out on top in the Supreme Court. And essentially, what the issue was whether or not Google stole code from Oracle, or if it used code under fair use to develop the Android operating system. Obviously, Oracle still feels that Google stole that code, but I think in general, what this means for the software industry is things can continue to go forward as usual. What the ruling basically says is that Google used its own expertise to build on top of a portion of Java that allowed for greater functionality. So, not necessarily that they stole it, but they used the code to then build up and add different portions to the software. And that's really what you see from other developers around the world. It really is kind of the status quo. So I think when you look at this and you say, well, Oracle still feels as though the code was stolen. I mean, if they had won, then it would have likely upended the software industry around the globe. So I think it kind of behooved the justices to come down in favor of Google to a degree. But I think that we're still going to see some pushback. Some people are going to say that it's a greater issue of intellectual property rights or things along those lines. But according to the experts that I spoke to, none of the code could have been copywritten. It really did fall under fair use. And so Google coming out on top again as far as Android goes.
And neither stock really seeing a big move on the back of that either, we should point out. Dan Hellie, thanks so much for that.
This is actually weird for me. I'm myself someone who writes code and these kind of thing. If someone takes my code, especially if it's not freely published by me, if someone uses my code and just creates and builds an empire upon that, that's ridiculous. Like, how can you not actually give some right to the person? They use that and then they improve that one. Yeah, but anyway, you use that. It's like that I have a machine. You come and use my machine. You work with that machine on your, I don't know, whatever product you have, and then you make your product. And then, well, you used my software. I don't know. It sounds a bit weird the way that they are saying. Maybe I don't know the details, but from a standpoint of someone that actually writes code, and I was myself once a victim of this. Some student came, I shared my codes with him and everything, and I was supposed to be basically his supervisor, but in the end he actually did not mention my name, or basically did not say that he used my code or something like that, and I could easily make a make a problem for him or put him into trouble. I didn't do that because I felt like that he was just a master student, so I just I just let him get away with that. But if he then goes and then builds on top of that code an empire, I don't know, a product that earns millions of dollars or thousands of dollars, I should be able to get part of that. So I don't know what happened there, but to me it just doesn't feel very, how to say, very fair. But maybe I don't know the details, so. Let's have a look at the yield. Yeah. Up or down. Melly. yeah, nothing really interesting from my point of view at this point. Let's see if we can actually find some quick day trading option. I was looking at, again, because I'm actually trading on eToro, I don't have very good spreads. They usually have really wide spreads there that actually makes it very difficult to do day trading. But if we go to longer time frames, then it should be okay. And for example, this example here, I wouldn't have taken this one. This was in the overbought territory. Let's have a look. Something that is. One of the ways to find the next move for me is this one. So what you can do is that this is actually the setup that I have. So I say that if we have a Bollinger lower band above our open price. Oh wait. Wait. This is not it. Okay, let's do it again. Good. So let's go to no, let's go to value. Oh my god, I cannot find it. Where was it? Not Bollinger Band. Last. Okay, so this one. So my last should be crosses up the Bollinger Band lower. So, and yeah. So the last crosses up the lower Bollinger Band, and then I want to have stochastic RSI, the slow below value of 20. So once again, your last price should be going above the lower Bollinger Band. Your fast stochastic RSI should crosses up the stochastic RSI slow, and then your RSI slow should be in the oversold territory. So I only have right now the day. Let's just sure. So let's have a look at. Let's have a look at docs. Okay, these are actually not. But let's check them. So here's the thing. So it crosses up. Okay, I have to go here to day chart. So it crosses up, and this one I'm not sure if I take this, but you get this is right now at this position, and if I would take this if my basically momentum is going up. If you have actually, like, you can actually check it here in 4. If in 4 it is going up, that's another good sign. But that's a very good actually setup to find the next move basically. Yeah, well, these are not the stocks that I'm interested in, but if you have especially access to the paid version of TradingView, you can actually use that for this. Very useful tomorrow. Okay, this guy is going down still. 3, maybe at 219.90 I will buy, but let's see. Gevo. Let's look at Gevo. Let's go to 80. Maybe at 82.
Close your eyes and just Just stay tight, we have to go. Stay with me while we leave. Don't worry, just believe me. This journey will relieve us. Stay with me while we leave. Stay with me while we leave. Don't worry, just believe me. This journey will relieve us. Stay with me.
Yeah, OGI. I actually traded this one a couple of times, but I'm wondering, should I go back to it at some point or not? Not right now anyway, but there will be a time where cannabis will take off again. Let's see if we have anything in the market.
By Nike, but the last time we had the conversation about these shoes, and was there any indication about the types of prices that it would dictate or that it could command in the resale market?
Well, the shoes sold for a hefty price, over $1,000. I believe the exact price was $1,018. Haven't really been seeing them hit the resale market, but I will be on that as soon as I can. But I think this could probably go for double or even triple just because of the novelty of it. People always want that exclusive shoe, and especially when it's tied to controversy like this shoe was, it's going to be a hot seller.
I mean, you could argue it was already a win for mischief. They've gotten the publicity they wanted out of this, and we're talking about it still, right? Reggie Wade, always appreciate you bringing us these stories to us. Coming up, we are taking a closer look at the climate initiatives in President Biden's $2 trillion infrastructure bill. Michigan Congressman Dan Kildee joins us after this short break.
Yeah, that would be interesting discussion to hear. Although we have been hearing a lot about this during these days, but I still think like with Biden that these stocks will, like this solar, this basically green stocks will move forward. The EV stocks, it just market still is deciding what to do, but in my opinion that's just clear where it will be in, if not this month, in 6 months or something like that. Let's have another look at the some of my watch lists. Okay, so moving back up a bit. Well, not really. Tesla is minus 0.4. Disney. You want to add more Lulu? We can have a look at Lulu if you want. Just a second, I check this one. How about here? Is there any news on this? I don't think so. It's really weird feeling when people just expect to buy something and it just goes up. I think that just shows the wrong mentality of some of the people. You should buy when it's low, not when it's high. And of course, someone was explaining that people, if you want to go and buy, I don't know, a suit, if it's usually, I don't know, $200, and that's a typical price. If you one day go and see that price is $400, the same suit, you won't go and buy it. You wait for a discount. If the price is 200, you only go and buy it when it's, I don't know, 150, 100. But when you're buying a stocks, people tend to do differently, and I think it's basically because, and it happened to me as well when I was less experienced in this, but generally this is the way people act during stocks. So we are not as smart when buying and selling stock for some reason. I don't know why it is like that, but 5 minutes. This is. Should I take a trade on this? How much? It doesn't have much volume, so maybe not. Maybe not. This guy's here.
Central state in auto manufacturing, it gives us a chance to position ourselves to own the future. A big concern that we've had in the automotive world is that the transition to electrification could take place without the U.S. being a principal manufacturer. Half of the electric vehicles are not produced here, produced in China. And if we don't act now to try to get to scale and to get those unit prices down by getting to scale, someone else will fill that void. So this is not just good climate policy. In this case, it positions us to own our own manufacturing future, and that's really important to a state like mine.
Hi, Congressman. Jessica Smith here. One of the issues that we have heard about from Republicans largely is concerns about job losses in the fossil fuel space. This plan does take steps to try and help those workers find jobs. Do you think it does enough? Is that something that you're concerned about, that you're watching as you try to craft legislation now?
Yeah, it's something to be aware of, and that's why I think what President Biden is proposing kind of covers the bases in the sense that we realize that in the intermediate term, short and intermediate term, we're still going to be somewhat dependent on fossil fuel as we transition to cleaner sources. The question is, at what pace will that occur, and what support do we provide individuals who are being displaced as we go through that transition? I think they've got it about right. We have to be able to own our own, as I said before, own our own future. And the way to do that is to realize that for the jobs that are lost, they will be replaced by new jobs and new sectors of the economy, and in fact, new facets of the energy sector. That transition doesn't take place automatically. It requires investment in terms of capital investment. Tax policy is a good way to do that. And it requires investment in human capital. And this is where the Biden administration, by having a focus on that transition, on job training, for example, to prepare those workers for the new economy, helps knit this together, I think, real nicely.
Congressman, we've heard from a lot of labor unions who have voiced concerns about the types of new jobs that could come to market as a result of this bill, saying essentially that these green jobs don't necessarily pay the same rate that fossil fuel jobs do. Do you see this as a fair trade-off?
I see it as a legitimate concern, and I think that's why we have to attack this whole question on multiple fronts. For example, it's really important that we strengthen the American labor movement so that they are able to negotiate for fair wages in these new emerging sectors the same way they have in sectors of the economy that are going through this sort of attrition as a result of the big changes that we face. So what we can't allow is for the economy to be to have amnesia. The reason we were able to build the middle class around manufacturing is because we had labor unions that were able to negotiate for fair wages. So we need to strengthen that as we move to this new sector of the economy. And so I get the concern. The concern I have is that if we don't aggressively move to more sustainable sources of energy, not only will we lose those old economy jobs, but we won't own the new ones. And that's the worst scenario for American workers.
Another one of the proposals in President Biden's plan is replacing the nation's lead pipes. Clearly, that is a huge issue to Flint. What can Congress learn from what happened in Flint and what's happened in the years after that as they try to tackle this on a national stage?
It's a really important point. Of course, Jessica, you and I have talked about this over the years. Flint is a warning to the rest of the country. What took place in Flint, while it was extreme, it wasn't an anomaly. The price of failure in Flint, which is now going to be somewhere north of $1 billion when we put all of the work we had to go through to get it fixed, and now all the settlements of these lawsuits, it's going to be north of $1 billion. If we don't get that message and invest in replacing those lead service lines all across the country, as the Biden administration has proposed, the cost of failure is so much greater than the price of doing it right. And so I think they've nailed it. $45 billion in this plan to replace lead service lines across the country will save not only lead exposure and the impact that that has on the brains of developing children, but will save us an enormous financial expense downstream. So this is a good example of why infrastructure and
all the time we are hearing this debate between people who agree with the plan and people who hate for the plan. I think the wisest decision for us as traders is really to just focus on the big picture if it's going to be done. So just think about the stocks that gonna benefit from it, like EV charger stations, like some of these even material this material stocks that can provide these rare earths or other types of material related to that. But there's the greenest stocks and things like that. But obviously do not go all in a sense that everything will move up. I think you should pick your winners and pick the goodest stocks in each sector, and I think we will be fine.
Somewhere. We don't want to repeat the mistakes of the early 1970s where industry did not see around the corner. And when fuel prices went way up, American producers lost market share in a huge way. We want to avoid that. But I think the challenge for us, and the piece that I've been working on along with Senator Stabenow on the Senate side, is to structure this credit. And this is where I think the automakers, labor unions, consumers, and environmentalists are all on the same page. Structure the credit so that we can bring those vehicle prices down to a level where middle-income earners can purchase an electric vehicle using the incentives that we put in place. And they are becoming far more accessible to middle-income earners. We think structuring the credit so that it skews more toward lower-cost vehicles will get us moving in the right direction. It's good for consumers, good for workers because we'll make those cars here, good for the environment because we increase the number of vehicles on the road that are not spewing dangerous pollutants and creating greenhouse gases. It works for all of us, and it works for the companies because I think they see their future now in electrification.
To what extent is the other element of this infrastructure sort of keeping up in line with the timeline? We've heard from some of these major car makers like a GM who says they're going to go all EVs by 2035, which is great for mass adoption, but there's got to be concerns among drivers that are there going to be enough charging stations in place? How much of those two tracks are aligned right now?
Yeah, they have to be aligned, and that's why I think what the president is proposing helps us get there in sync. We have to have charging infrastructure so that any anxiety people have about having an electric vehicle can be erased. So that's one big piece of it. But it also has to do with some of the things that we're doing with the consumer credit that we want to have, the tax credit that is the main driver of electric vehicle purchase. We want to make sure that we have minimal battery capacity before a vehicle qualifies for the credit, so that any vehicle sold using that tax credit is going to have the kind of range that will allow customers to feel safe and comfortable that they're not going to have a problem being stranded. So it's the combination of putting charging infrastructure out there and then also making sure that the consumer credit incentivizes the purchase of vehicles that have sufficient range so that a person is not in a position where they're not able to manage it. Over time, it's going to be resolved because we're going to have vehicle charging stations as ubiquitous as you have gas stations now. That will resolve itself over time, but the transition is not going to be easy and it has to be intentional. And that's why I'm pleased that the administration is taking this approach.
I know this is a Senate issue, but wanted to ask you about it really quickly. The parliamentarian, it looks like, is ruling that the Senate can use reconciliation potentially another time than they expected. Does that change the way you approach this as you're trying to put this piece of, as you're trying to?
All right, that's it. That's enough. Not interested in that question. All right, so we did not hit yet any of our buy points or buy targets. We still keep at it. Let's have a look at. That's interesting. It didn't move much. Or let's see. And if I want to check Nell, the one from Norway, it jumps quite crazily this morning, so it went over 7%. So that was interesting. So I'm still, I think this is now above our buy target. We wanted to buy CrowdStrike below 190 and preferably below 180. It didn't happen. So we just keep it as it is now. The DraftKings, I think it still has some room. There was some bad news about Penn. Momentum swings, or so if that one goes down, usually DraftKings can go down as well. Let's see, draft and 30 min. Yeah, you can expect this to go lower a bit. How about on 2 hour? How about yeah, could be, maybe not. It's not very strong move in either direction. Yeah. No, I don't think that's the case. I don't really think that's the case. People have different opinion on that, but I think that it's just my personal thought. I think the infrastructure plan was necessary for United States. I'm not American, so I don't get to say anything about it really, but it's just my opinion. I think some of the infrastructure, if planned carefully, can create jobs and things like that. So, and I'm basically living in a country where I pay a lot of tax, so and I think we have a better situation than the United States. So that's my honest comment there. But again, I'm not American, so I don't get to say how you guys should run your country. If I can get to low 8s, if I can get you at low 8s, I will be very happy. Also, the same thing for BNGO. I've already put my orders. I was not successful hitting those orders, but I feel like it should go down. Just feels like there is room for it to go down, but $780 more or less.
One formal long-term contract with a place like Packer is a bit of good news and worth more than large numbers of letters of intent or non-committed advanced discussions. So, you look at this deal and you see all these other pre-revenue companies. So a firm commitment like this meaning something. All right, let's take a look at the general market here. We have the NASDAQ leading the way still. That's up about 1/3%. S&P 500 giving back some of its juice. That's up 9 basis points. And the Dow has been mired in the red just about the entire day. Small caps, by the way, up about 1/3%. Now, in the NASDAQ 100, not a lot of action like we were seeing yesterday. The mega caps kind of mixed today, but we do have some standouts. Pinduoduo up 5%, Mercado Libre up 4%. Oh, by the way, those shopping plays, e-commerce plays, really been lighting up today, guys.
Okay, thanks so much for that, Jared. Coming up, we're talking about Topps riding the trading card boom to the public markets. The latest on their SPAC announcement merger. That's on the other side of the break.
Yeah, how is that? Uh, well, look, okay, about Jivo, many people put this in actually momentum type of plays, and I understand why they do that. I also myself think that Jivo still doesn't have the necessary financials to justify basically higher prices, even these prices. But obviously, you know that these kind of plays do not necessarily sit based on their value or their current value. The thing about Jivo is that if they can get their cost lower, they will be much more interesting play. But at the same time, I know people really experienced traders, not famous hedge fund people, but really traders that I personally know. They are actually very bullish on Jivo. Not very bullish, but they believe that this can easily go to $15. And I understand exactly why that is the case. It just takes them a couple of basically contracts to really get there. And if I'm in Jivo, I'm gonna have a price target on that, and for me it's something around $14 to $15. And if that's really the case, if it really gets to that point, that's really a good chunk of profit in my opinion. I wouldn't be really invested too much in Jivo because of apparently the volatile nature of this stock, but I don't mind having a bit of you know money in it. I think it will go up eventually, so I wouldn't lose much. And one of the good things about these stocks that have something associated with momentum plays, this is a momentum play in my opinion, but it has a bit more. So they usually move higher than the other or faster than the other momentum stocks. So that's my opinion on it. So of course, make your own decision there. But what I'm looking is that it really can get back to this 880 right now. And if it gets here, it sounds like that it can basically bounce back. How about 4 hours? There is completely a possibility for this to actually come back to these levels. I can absolutely see it happening. So I'm not gonna be going in it all in yet, like all the positions that I want to build on it. So I'm gonna do it gradually, and we'll take it from there. See what happens. Anything else happening? Someone was asking a question about the stock. Vive. Let's have a look at that. Yeah, I really like this company. but I only read basically 5 minutes about it. So I prefer one of the traders that not traders, one of the investors that I really believe in his ability and his understanding of the stocks, and he has always outperformed me basically. So or most of the time. That guy actually suggested me this one, but I haven't been actually looking at it yet. So we can have a look at it. Let's have some weekly graph. You see, then we have this option to the 50 EMA, even lower, but keeps at this position. So 50 EMA looks like to be a very good support for this one. And even from this point to the all-time highs, that's like 15%. But this one really looks like something that has moved like constantly up. So you can see how fast it actually moved up. And let's have a look at day. Maybe this is it's actually, let's have a look at the week again. I think this actually is a very good position to, like it was here basically, 255 was the really good position to start your position in this one. It back to this one. I doubt this comes back all the way here. I really don't think that's gonna happen unless we have something crazy happening, especially in this current bull market. I don't think that's gonna happen. I mean, I don't even think it comes back to this 240 for now, but nothing we should decide for the market, of course. We should expect that, but in my opinion, this is a good starting point, around 250 if you had actually 255. So this was a good start in my opinion. Now when I look at, for example, 4-hour charts, it has some gaps. Yeah, I would wait a bit. I think it will come to 272 or something around that. Probably comes back a bit and then goes up again. Feels like that. So that's about Weave that you were asking, but I don't know much about the fundamentals. The things I read, it sounds like a very solid company, really good business model, and in my opinion, it's really good. Honestly, if I had money, I would have put more in crowd. I should have done it, but then again, yeah, I did not, so it's my bad. Peloton, let's have a look at Peloton. Why is this so slow? Let's have a look at it here. P time. That was quite a jump. Well, I'm not in Peloton. I am not in Peloton. Again, the reason is that I already am in. Well, okay, I have a small position in it, very small, but it's really nothing compared to some of the other plays that I have. The reason is that again, I'm already in other plays, and to me Peloton looked like, again, one of those things that has risk, and the fact that if economy is coming back, if we are reopening, then people gonna be scared about this one. So yeah, I didn't feel like I want to take another risk on this one. I already am in rather risky plays, so yeah. Sundial, Tilray, for yeah. Sundials, I don't know. I know people love Sundial, but in my opinion, Faria and Tilray are the good ones. If there was no merging, I would have gone with Faria. And now that they are going to merge, I'm gonna go with Tilray, because that's gonna be the name that they're using. Let's have a look at this. Let's look at day chart. This has been trending down. This is actually at a support level here, more or less. Let's look at one. Okay. This actually sounds like a good day trade. If something like this happens, then we can have something around 5%. It's not bad. Of course, we have to wait for this to actually cross the red line, and this will definitely be crossing by that time as well. So this, maybe Tilray is one of the ones that I have to think about. Let's add Tilray to that. So to my swing trades. So let's have a look at 4 hour. Yeah. Feels like it can go up. To me, this looks like a good day trading option. Maybe well, it's not sure yet, so I will wait for it tomorrow. It could suddenly jump up here, but usually when it goes down, then it jumps up. So you can see this is consistently happening with it. BNGO. Someone was asking something else as well, some other stock. Just write it down. Yeah, someone was asking something. I do not remember. Let me check. NNDM. We talked about NNDM today. Let's have a look at NNDM. go a bit. Let's go a bit day. Nothing really. I actually think an NDM will take off eventually, but right now we are in days that people are afraid of these momentum stock and everyone thinks about value. So there is a reason that you don't see it moving that much, but I'm actually invested rather heavily on this, and my average cost is not that low either. But I think this will go on. It's just too good of a company to remain at these levels. I think when it went to 6 something, that was ridiculous at the time. And below 8, this is a very good buy. PNGO, DM, yeah. So if I want to look for day, this still sounds like going down. Sounds like it. So I expect this to come down a bit more. Now we will see when this coming down stops. It can come all the way here, but I really don't think it's gonna happen. But again, never predict, always wait for the action. And when it comes down, then you have this probably movement from here and then also this cross here. Then that's gonna be, or it could be that it just basically comes in from here even already, it just starts to go back. So the momentum is towards up, and that is usually the way, and this is usually the more how to say, reliable point. But I will wait a bit. I think one of the mistakes that we can easily make as traders is that we just predict and then enter something. I think you should define the support levels and then you should wait for, you know, signs of bouncing back, and then that's the point where we can buy. You will not get 100% move of the market, but you will get enough. All right, one more stock if you have something you like me to have a look at. One more and then we will close for today. Corsair. How was this? Yeah, Corsair Gaming. I will wait for a dip on this one. I won't buy it now. I won't buy Corsair now. If you have waited till now, you can wait a bit more. Mara. To look at Mara. 45. I had a price target of 55 for. I mean, it was originally 60, but also 55. Usually, I have put a bit more safety factor for myself, and then put some stop loss there. But I actually sold my stop when we were up here, so around 47, 48. So I felt that we are already at very high values, so I actually sold it a long time ago. And then it came back here and I did not buy, and then I could not get back into this one. So it's a pity, but yeah, happens. This was really a good play. If I could enter, I actually took a very good profit from it, but still it feels knowing when you see that you knew that you should get into this one, it's just that you got a bit too cocky about it. Okay, let's have a look at Jivo. Jivo is gonna hit our limit 5. Jivo. This. $8.68. Let's see where I can buy this one. I don't think that's gonna happen. Neo. We haven't looked at Neo today, actually. Let's see. Do we have a play? Why this is so slow? Tilray. Not really in a strong momentum mode right now. We need volume for this. There's just not enough volume. Shift. This one I really like. When it comes below 8, I will add a bit more to it. But then again, I don't have much money left, so I have to be careful about where I put my money. But Shift is really undervalued right now. There will be a time that Shift will move and everyone will start just pay attention to it. Just not now. Okay, Palantir went red today. Gee. Check 30. Yeah, I would be happy with buying BNGO at 7. Yeah, all right. It sounds like to be it for today. I think I will meet you back again tomorrow, and have a nice trading day, everyone. Thanks for joining in.